This hilariously fat Klingon warship, the L-13 class battleship, which translates to Dangerous Fat Man, is one of the first actual Klingon battleships to appear in Star Trek lore. So let's go into the features, lore, and the brief battle with the Romulans that made the Klingons realize perhaps this is not the ideal battleship.
Galactic Order.
The Fat Man's origins are from the Klingon Ship Recognition Manual, which was a supplement to the tabletop game known as a Tactical Starship Combat Simulator by FASA Games back in the 80s, sadly now out of print. This is one of those funny designs that didn't quite live up to expectations. It is nicknamed Fat Man or Turtle by Starfleet personnel. Now this battleship first entered service after the 4 Years' War with the Federation, kind of alongside another odd Klingon ship design, the one-wing D-11 class destroyer, which I have done another video about. The link is in the description. This thing's dimensions compared to say a D7 or a Constitution class are not that much larger, but this ship has a tremendous amount of bulk to it. It's fat. According to the game stats, it does have a fair amount of disruptors, but its maneuverability at impulse is rather poor. For this design, I've taken the liberty of saying that the warp engines actually retract when about to go into battle for better protection. Its warp drive is rather diminutive, and its power output is similarly poor for a ship of its size, which means it's pretty much a flying space brick with a bunch of disruptors. Now, per the actual game stats, this ship doesn't even begin to look tactically impressive until around the Star Trek II era, when it actually does get pretty good torpedoes. But for a battleship, even then it wasn't much more impressive than the Starfleet Constitution class cruisers. I guess its only positive feature, its size and bulk, allows it a lot of utility, especially for things like planetary assaults, troop transport, command operations, etc. And since the hull is kind of tough, but not the shields, it could serve as kind of a damage sponge in battle, allowing attention to be focused on it while more maneuverable ships with decent firepower do all the real work. The Ship Recognition Manual tells of an encounter with the Romulans in the Triangle Zone that woke up the Klingon Navy to this battleship's shortcomings. But before we get into that, I'm going to plug the sponsor for this video, and that is you guys, both on Patreon and for those of you who send me a super thanks or purchase my digital assets on the CG Trader, all of which literally keeps this channel going. As you can see, I have custom 3D renders for $8 patrons and above, using my 3D assets available or anything you might have seen on my YouTube channel. So things like custom names for your favorite starship in the environment and action that you prefer, whether it be at warp or in a nebula or firing weapons. For higher tier patrons, I offer 4K renders and 10-second animations. All of this work is available for you to check out at patreon.com/resurrected. If you don't care for Patreon, this is also available at my CG Trader store, linked in the description below. Also, I've noticed some of you have trouble contacting me for perhaps paid commissions or paid work, but as you can see, this is how you get to my contact information right here on YouTube. Or you can support the channel through the Super Thanks option and donate however much you are comfortable with. I always reply to those Super Thanks comments. And now back to the Fat Man. Some months after the Fat Man was launched, one of these battleships, escorted by 6 one-wing class destroyers, was parading around the Triangle Zone, perhaps doing a prestige tour. The Triangle Zone is the neutral area surrounded by the Klingon Empire, the Romulan Star Empire, and the Federation, and this is where many chance encounters occur between the three empires. The Romulans arranged a welcoming party for them. The Romulan force consisted of 1 Gallant Wing class destroyer, which is a vast upgrade from the older Bird of Prey class, and well capable of destroying something like even a Constitution class heavy cruiser, and 3 Type 7 T2 Death Talon class destroyers. This is a fairly potent force, especially if you consider that all of these Romulan ships have a sophisticated cloak and all were armed with plasma torpedoes, a deadly combination. The Romulan commander already knew all about the deficiencies of the hilariously ineffective One-Wings. The Romulans were able to conduct a cloaked alpha strike on the unsuspecting Klingon fleet, and were able to quickly take out 3 of the D-11s and then began exchanging a series of blows that severely damaged the Klingon battleship. The Klingons were able to moderately damage the Gallant Wing and destroy one of the Romulan destroyers, but then decided maybe it was time to preserve this new valuable asset and began a fighting retreat. With the element of surprise lost, the battleship still had plenty of fight left in her, and the Klingons were able to disable another Romulan destroyer. Both fleets then decided that this was an inconclusive battle and withdrew. The aftermath of this battle highlights the Fat Man's shortcomings. This ship would later be upgraded with far more efficient engines and power generation. But by the end of it, this old battleship would quickly fade to obsolescence, replaced by far more effective Klingon battleships and battlecruiser designs. The Dangerous Fat Man remains an entertaining piece of Starship lore, full of potential scenarios and stories that give us all great content.
I like a customer who knows what she wants.
And that's all we have for the Fat Man battleship. As you can see here, this is me building the Fat Man in Blender 3D. Although I am alright at animating and FX work, I prefer to make about 95% of my own 3D assets. I know how to make sort of low poly 3D assets that don't require an enormous system or movie studio level gear to work with. The positive side of this is stuff almost anyone can use on their own PC or perhaps in space game mods, and my own stuff is just easier for me to animate and work with. This is one of the reasons sometimes it takes a bit longer for me to release a new video, but it's so satisfying when I do. My next project will be the Excelsior class. Perhaps the topic will ask the question about whether the Excelsior is actually something like a Starfleet battleship or supercruiser, and what it can really do aside from its failed transwarp drive. This will also serve as a new custom render option for my patrons at patreon.com/resurrected. Please comment on what kind of video topic you think would work for an Excelsior class. Also, I'm probably going to bring back some more game-related videos, perhaps EVE Online. I've been working on this Triglavian mask here, probably for cosplay purposes and 3D printing. Kind of new 3D modeling project for me, so we'll see how that goes. And finally, in the end credits, here's a thank you to my current patrons. Until next time, Space Friends.